This lesson is going to cover converting between decimals and fractions. So to get started, you need to make sure that you have a calculator, either a scientific calculator or a scientific calculator online. I recommend Desmos.com. So Desmos.com and selecting the scientific calculator. And I'll be embedding that in a few of the Canvas assignments that you'll see. So to begin with, to convert from fractions to decimals, I'm going to use my calculator. So if I wanted to convert the fraction 1/2 in my calculator, I would type 1 divided by 2. And that's a very common decimal, so I'm just going to write down what it is. It's 0.5. Now, on the other hand, 5 over 9, if I wanted to convert that fraction to a decimal, I am not familiar with that offhand, so I'm going to use my scientific calculator. So you'll notice up here it says the title, Desmos Scientific, and I'm going to type in 5, and I'm going to divide it by 9. And you can see that it converts my answer to a decimal. Now, it says 0.555556. That's because it rounded my decimal. This is what is repeating forever. So as I come back to write my answer, this is 0.5 repeating. 2 3/4. So 2, if I go to my scientific calculator, I'm going to clear. And I'm not going to do the 2, but I'm going to do 3 divided by 4, or 3/4. And that equals 0.75. So 2.75. And last but not least, pi. Now, if you're not sure what pi is as a decimal, I'm just going to click it in my calculator and notice that it's 3.14159, and then we're going to write that down. 3.14159, and then it continues on forever. So the last question on this page is what makes some decimals repeat, and what makes some terminate? And it all has to do with the denominator of my fraction roots. So let's get started. So if I'm going to be converting numbers into a fraction, decimals into a fraction, if the decimal terminates, in other words, if it ends or stops, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the number of digits after the decimal, and that is going to equal the number of zeros I'm going to put after the 1 when I go to write my denominator. And then I'm going to simplify my answer. So here I go. So 0.25 is going to convert to, I'm going to make a fraction. What comes after the decimal goes on top of my fraction. So 25 is my numerator. And in my denominator, I'm always going to write a 1. And then how many digits is that after the decimal? There's 1, 2 for 25. And so I'm going to add 0, 0. My last step is to always simplify. 25 over 100 simplifies to 1 over 4. And again, if you're not confident with simplifying your fractions, if you type it into your calculator, 25 over 100, you'll see that it converts it to a decimal. But if you click the little fraction button, convert to fraction button over here on the right, it'll convert it to a simplified fraction. So 1/4. 0.6. 6 goes on top of my fraction because that is the digit after my decimal. How many digits is that? That is only 1 digit. So I'm going to write always a 1 and then add a 0. Now, can I simplify that? Yes, I can. They each divide by 2. So 3 over 4. Last but not least, I make my fraction. After my decimal is 374, so that goes on top. That is 3 digits long. So underneath, I'm going to write a 1 and 3 zeros. And I'm going to simplify. And that one I'm not very comfortable by hand. So here we go. 374 divided by 1,000. It does convert it to decimal. Click over here on that fraction button. 187 divided by 500. And that is how I convert fractions that end. Now let's suppose my decimal repeats. Remember, this repeating symbol is the same as writing 0.3333 dot dot dot. So if I have a fraction that repeats, in order to convert it, I'm going to start the same as I would the other type of the terminating fractions. I'm going to write that thing that repeats. The thing that repeats is a 3. That goes on top of my fraction. But instead of writing a 0, I'm going to count the number of digits. There's 1 digit here, and that's how many 9s are going to be in the denominator. So 3 over 1 9. And that simplifies to 1/3. So let's look at a second example. 27 repeating. So that means if I saw it longhand, it would be 2 7, 2 7, 2 7, and that pattern would continue on and on. So what digits are repeating? Well, 2 7 is what is repeating. So 2 7 goes in, or 27 goes in the top of my fraction. How many digits is 27? It's 2 digits. So that's how many 9s go in the denominator, 2 9s. So 27 over 99. Those can both be divided by 3. Actually, they can be divided by more. Let's look at our calculator. 27 over 99. Fraction simplifies to 3/11. Last but not least, if I was converting this, 375 over, how many digits are there? 9, 9, 9. And 375, whoops, clear. 375 over 999. 125 over 333. And that is how I convert decimals to fraction. Now, I want to go over one more example. If you see the decimal 0.131313, remember that can be translated into 0.13 repeating. So that would convert to, as a fraction, 13, and that's 2 digits over 99. And that can't be simplified, so that would be my final answer.